author Brian K. Morris comes an epic tale of armor forged by a god, a hero forged by courage, and an ancient menace poised to re-emerge and threaten our world. Volcana, Rebirth of the Champion, is available on Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
Good evening, everyone. How the heck are you? Hi, welcome to Clever Title Pending for December 8th. 2020. Wow, we're getting through this year. We're in the finish line now, and we're celebrating in style tonight. We've got an old friend coming back on the show. We're going to talk to him and take your questions. Looking forward to hearing from what you have to what you need to know. Ted can answer them for you, Mr. Ted Davies, Ted Davies Artistry himself. And if you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Spotify, we welcome you. Glad you're listening to us. And to everyone who's watching the show live on Facebook, we appreciate your being here, whether you're watching us on the rerun or you're watching us live and interacting with us. We appreciate it. And if you're watching on the Indie Vent or Rising Tide page, please give the video a like if you enjoy what you see and hear tonight. And also, please give a like to the page you're watching it on, because that helps in searchability and defeats the evil Zuckerberg algorithms that we almost fight constantly. And if you're watching us on YouTube on the Brian K. Morris Rising Tide Publications page or on Geek Event, please, again, give that video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and please take a second and subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you'll be notified of any future appearances we do. You'll get about 20 to 30 minutes advance warning with luck. It is YouTube after all. But anyway, also thank you to Plasma Fire Graphics for sponsoring tonight's show as always. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it does matter to your reader, so it should matter to you too. And also thank you to Geek Insider and Rising Tide .pub for powering this show. And speaking of power, we've got somebody here who started out the year as an artist, former architect, I guess we could say, and has emerged into finding out he's got quite a number of talents, not just limited to art. He's also a great broadcaster, now a podcaster, and he's got it going on. We're here, and we're glad to welcome back our friend Ted Davies. Ted, how the heck? Let me unmute you, brother, so people can hear you, because that was on me. Anyway, how the heck are you, Ted?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me today. That was a very nice intro.
Well,
I think,
bang,
I might have you as my publicist from now on. That's pretty good.
Oh, I'll send you my rate card, man.
That's great.
We talk about the national debt here.
Send it to all the people that like me. That's good.
There you go. And how could they not like you? Good Lord Almighty.
Opinions vary, but that's okay.
Well, you've gotten past the crusty exterior of my dark little heart, and we have embraced you as a brother here.
Chipped away. Yep, chipped away that
I know it's tough, man. It's hard as onyx down there. I'm telling you. But anyway, Ted, let's give you what we, as you know, we like to give our guests the floor and all the dirt on it. So we're gonna let you. We're gonna give you the spotlight here, and you tell everybody who you are and why you're so awesome, and that should take up the rest of the show,
Yeah.
and where people can find you.
Cool. Well, Ted Davies, Ted Davies Artistry. I'm an artist and an author. I've authored Retrieve, Albino Zulu. Soon, Grim 101 will be coming out. I do extensive artwork for different clientele. I used to be an architectural designer, so I did quite a bit of that work. Spent 30 years thinking outside the box and, trying to prove everybody wrong. Did a pretty good job of that. And now we're in Ted Davies Artistry as a published author, and I'm loving it. And mainly because of this group. There's a huge family is what I consider the Nevermorians, and part of Ted's tribe. And so now we're doing YouTube and having a good time with it, building a podcast following, and just rising tide, bringing everybody with us. So that's what we do pretty much.
Most excellent, most excellent. And let's see, we've already got comments pouring in, and we
Good.
will be posting your comments on the screen as we go. And when you shoot us a question, we will be more than happy to have Ted answer that, because you see me all the time. You got nothing to ask me, I suppose. But anyway, and Cindy Cap is going to be late tonight, so it's on you, people. We're expecting some results here. Now, let's start out the conversation, Ted, with you were on the show May 28th.
Yes.
As the My Sharona Miley Cyrus Peter pandemic is really ramping up across not just America, but the entire globe.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were talking about your artwork. You had published Albino Zulu and
Retrieve.
Thank you. And then you were doing a variant cover for Hybrids, the Sons of God's #5 from Luke Stone.
Yes.
Now, in that meantime, between then and now, just a scant 7 months or so, you've blossomed into a content provider on YouTube. You do, what is it, TED Talks. You do the Cigar Show with our own Carl Witzman.
Right.
Plus you were doing Inktober stuff.
Yep.
And, you put and plus you do creator interviews.
Right.
Now, what made you want to, a lot of people just want to focus on their art and, maybe go on someone else's YouTube to promote themselves. But what made you want to dive into broadcasting yourself?
Well, I think that we were all in a decision at that time. All of us were at that point, I think, from March, even before May. I knew that once our first deal was done, as far as we had one show in March, and I knew that once they closed the doors in Michigan, we were pretty much, we weren't going to be doing any shows, I figured, for another, at least until now, this time of year, right? And I sat down and I had a long conversation with Christine. I said, okay, so here's the lay of the land. One of the things about being in architecture, we always knew, we could tell because companies weren't building. And once they weren't building, we pretty much knew, the writing was on the wall. So I was always been really good about seeing the markets on how that worked. And I usually go with my gut. And I said, well, the only way that we're going to succeed is by bringing other people with us. So how do we do that? And I kind of went off of what you were doing anyway. You were already taking years and made a presence that you're helping people, including myself. I said, well, I don't want to be a duplicate fez wearer, but I said I could probably, how do you duplicate Brian? You can't. So I said, okay, how do we make it so that we bring in as many people as we can and we can build our own market? How we do that? And after I talked about it a little bit with Chris, and I said, okay, this is what I think we're going to do. I said, I'm going to start, because I used to interview people for a living, at work. And I'm like, you know what? I can do this. And why not? If they feel comfortable, it's just going to make them better, more obtainable. And I said, right now, this is our convention. This is what it is. We are in the midst of It's probably not going to be the same for the next 2 years, I would think, or at least a year.
Yeah.
So how do we build a foundation to start this house? And that's, I just took analogies from architecture and built it from that. And yeah, it's evolving. My architecture always evolved, whether it was a remodel or whether it was something that multi-generational people can live in the same house, whether they're grandkids, grandparents. Same thing goes with Ted Davies artistry. It evolves, and I want to bring as many people into that house as I can.
Very cool.
But I don't like people that are squatters. You got to do the work. So as if we use that analogy, so yeah, so that's basically it. So that's how it started. But it really, to give you kudos and to all the Nevermorians, it was pretty much you, Brian, that brought it to the forefront. So
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I think you hit on a really good point that, excuse me, I've had some people who say, well, we want to achieve the level of success you have. And
Mhm.
my first reaction is aim higher. My second thing is, I even had one person say, should I wear a fez? But I think you took the right tack in, not doing what someone else is doing.
Right.
Because you've got your own audience that, whereas I'm kind of like hyper caffeinated level sort of excitement
Mhm.
sometimes. You're a lot more mellow, a lot more deliberate, and I like that. I think
At
that's
least
great.
Monday through Thursday.
Uh,
Anyway, that's
yeah,
private.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
private.
Until we get to the green room, and I'm sure we'll be talking about green room Ted
Yes.
before the end of the show, where the dark underside of
Yeah. Right.
Ted comes out.
Everybody has to. Everybody has to take the hat off every once in a while. But yeah.
That's true, and and there's a reason why it's not taped, folks. That's why you got to be there for Uncle Carl's
Right.
secret humor room,
Right.
because I don't think either of us come out of it with clean hands
Right.
or anything else.
It's true.
But you started you started your broadcasting with like your interviews, your art, and
Just my art. Yep.
your
Pretty
art,
much.
doing
Yep.
interviews, and then the cigar show. Now, what was the progression there? What were you
Well,
thinking that I've got an extra 10 minutes in my week, so let's start a
well,
cigar
what
session?
what it
What
was,
was the genesis of your evolution in broadcasting?
I think that well, okay, first off, you have to start. That's the first thing. You have to get to the point where you're
True.
all right. So that was I want to say, well, I've had a YouTube channel just so I could watch everybody else's YouTube channel, right? And I'm seeing a lot of these guys. I'm like the production level. I'm like, man, I could do that. I could do it with the new phone. I could do it, whatever. There's something I could do to promote. And I knew that we just had to get the word out. I knew that I've already done a lot of legwork to get Retrieve noticed before it was even a book.
Mhm.
Um, Sending out synopsises to different producers and all this other stuff, trying to get people to look at the idea because I knew the idea was plausible,
Right.
and that was years in advance. So I said, well, okay, so now I'm stuck at home. What can I do? Okay, let's get in front of the camera. I can do this. We can edit it quickly and put it out. And again, these aren't like any stellar Hollywood production or anything, but it got at least the ball rolling, and it started getting people noticing what I was doing. 300-400 views here and there, that adds up. And the big curveball that I hit was when I got the phone call for the script for Retrieve.
Yeah.
Once the book was done, the 2 books that I have out now, and then the third one's coming, that kind of pushed me. I'm like, okay, now it's time to start making a market. You got your ducks in a row. Now, how do we get to the next level? But it kept going back to rising tide. Okay, how do I bring in people, not just Ted, talking about his books and about his watches, and how do I get other people involved? Because the one of the things I'm seeing with a lot of these a lot of creators, they're introverted, and it blows my mind that they're talented people, but they just don't, they have a good relationship with the written word, but they are just, I mean, frankly, they're lousy with other people. And all it takes is I kept seeing all these interviews about, oh, I got a great Kickstarter. Oh, I got a great Kickstarter. Oh, we're selling this. Nothing talked about who they were. Nothing talked about where they came from. Were they a big family? Did they lose their a loved one early on in their lives? Anything on a personal level. And I said, that's the ticket, because that's really what I want to know. I want to know how people get through life. My experiences aren't not everybody's experiences, but it might help them get through something and might make them more productive. Whether it's building, producing a book, building a house, uh, you know, and that's how it started. I mean, that's really how the evolution began. And then it was a natural progression, because I wanted to find out what else people were interested in. I knew I was interested in cigars. I've been a cigar smoker for years. And I knew that Carl, I didn't know Carl, but I figured, hey, you know what? He might have a little bit of and it was a joke. I think it was a joke. We said it to each other, hey, why don't we do a cigar show? Are you down with that? And he, for whatever crazy reason, he said, yeah. I think it was hell yeah. And I said, okay. So we did it. But again, it's a very layman's, very calm, and that's, I think, Ted Davies. The problem is YouTube doesn't know where to put me, because I'm all over the place. I do art, I do, authorships, I do all this other stuff, historical books, antique books, coffee, cigars. And so now my algorithms are, excuse me, are like it's like hieroglyphs to these guys. They don't know where to put me. They don't know which niche I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like it that way. So, I like it that way.
Uncategorizable. Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's being an enigma is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making obscurity sexy again.
Evolution and enigma. Yeah. So, I think the evolution is natural. It's not meant to be. Yeah, I do want numbers. Yeah, I do want subscribers. But how many people have I helped in the course of this 8 months? Mm-hmm. I think it stands to reason. When you have people calling you, telling you that you have to put them on and that you have to push their work, and you don't know them from Adam. You can put the mute button on and then say, okay, I'm getting somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. So even though I don't put them on, and they don't have nothing to do with our group, but
Well, no, I like it. And it's, I've kind of taken this a little from you, I think. So it works both ways, in that you're not so interested in the fact that somebody's got something to sell so much as they've got something to say.
Yeah.
And
because the sales are a byproduct.
Yeah.
The money's a byproduct. I know we need to survive, but it really is. If we can just put that aside for a minute. I've traded a lot of books, with different creators.
Sure.
And my relationship with them is great. It doesn't matter if I had, made $300 on them or whatever, or with them.
Yeah.
And I've done some collaborations where I get paid a lot of money to do what I do, and it's good, but they always have that respect first. Mm-hmm. If they start losing that respect, well, then that's the way it goes. But I try to, the product is kind of it's just an add-on to the relationship.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that, and I talked to a number of people that, inexplicably want to be on my show too.
Sure.
That more people are likely to buy from you if they like you.
Yeah.
And so letting them get to know you is key to promoting yourself, because yourself that it's not just Retrieved and Albino Zulu that are the products. Ted is also the product.
And it's the journey. Yeah. I mean, one of the coolest books is Fellowship of the Ring, and how many people have read that or seen the movies, and you got a goal, but there's a whole coalition, a fellowship of people that are trying to get to this level, and some of them fall to the wayside, some of them make it, some of them don't, whatever. But that's the whole journey. That's it. That's really what Ted's tribe is about. Getting through the point where you guys are doing things that you didn't think were achievable. And you're going to look back and help somebody else doing that. You're going to climb that rock, and then you're going to help somebody else up there too. That's, it's a pretty simple concept.
That's true.
The golden rule.
Exactly. And this is a good point to tell everyone, please write this down for after the show's over. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, go to YouTube, do a search for Ted Davies Artistry.
Thank you.
And please subscribe to that channel. We were talking before the show, and Ted ought to be like getting a couple thousand people. Seriously,
you.
I say that without an ounce of irony or sarcasm. That Ted puts out such wonderful, amazing content. That he deserves
That means a
a
lot. Thank
lot
you.
of subscribers, and
Thank you.
so do I. So subscribe to me too. But anyway,
Absolutely.
hashtag
Absolutely.
always promote. And thank you, Nick Cocker. And thank you to everyone who's complimented and said hello to us so far. Sorry, I haven't been able to say your names, but Carly liked and shared. Thank you so much, Carly. And I liked. Thank you, Grant Lankard. And the Dark Mistress, Sarah is pleased with those who liked. And Ted, she goes on to say, love that smile as
Thank you.
always.
You're a sweetie. Thank you,
And
Sarah.
well, you better call Ted Clyde Hall one too. Great hat to go with that winning smile.
Clyde, it goes without saying, man.
There you go.
It goes without saying.
And Teresa says you're a bicyclist too. So
yeah, I was for many years. How do you know that?
she's a good stalker. She's part of our investigative team.
Yeah,
so,
I used to ride like really long distance. I was like a major. Yeah, it was bad. Shave the legs, the whole thing's. Shut up, Christian. But yeah, I used to do all that. I did long distance, 1,000 miles a week. It's crazy. Yeah, it's nuts.
That's just how I describe
Teresa, you're in Iowa, right? Teresa, I think she is.
Iowa, yes.
So RAGBRAI, I went on RAGBRAI. I think they know what that is. It's an acronym. Registers Annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. And there's like 900 miles in a week. And you have his and hers cornfields. It's pretty much, it's pretty raw. But it's an epic thing that I was 16 when I went on it. And it was awesome because there were like showers in the dugouts. It was crazy. It was your girls. It was nuts. It was good times. Love Iowa.
I was going to say we're going to have to check some IDs around here because I think the story's about to get really steamy.
Yeah.
It's a dark past here when he was 16, and
yeah,
he entered that bicycle race a boy, but he left.
Left a man. There's a story in there. Somewhere.
There is.
I think we might have to write that one down.
Yeah, we may have to have another green room just because of that.
I hope my kids aren't watching this. Hi guys, if you are. So
yeah,
they're adults, so it's all right.
Well, they are now. But anyway, Kelly Austin, who is part of the great team on Pulp Reality #1, available on Amazon. Kelly, good to see you. Good evening, all. Greetings to you, Brian and Ted, this fine, cold evening. Ted, that's you. Mm-hmm. Could you tell me what your favorite work is that you've personally done that was the most fulfilling and special to you? And thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate it. That's a great question. What's the thing you're probably proudest of and why?
What I wonder what she means, in architecture or in comic book or
both.
Okay.
And I'll also throw in broadcasting too. Let's make you work here.
Okay. Architecture, I would think, anything that I did with ADA compliancy, which means American Disabilities Act, anything that it would do to make a threshold or something easier for somebody to get across in a wheelchair, or if they were limited, to make it easier for them to live in a home. That would be, it doesn't matter what the project was, as long as it made it easier for people's lives, to where they're getting older. They might be widowed. They don't have a whole lot of excitement in their lives, but that little bit of, for pardon the pun, getting a leg up, that I lived for that because it really made it made me feel like I was doing something right in the world, architecturally. As far as books go, I think that Retrieve is probably going to be one of my opuses. I think Grim 101 that we're going to be talking about later today, but Retrieve is I've been working on it for so long, for 10 years, and seeing the end result and seeing how positive it's been and how well received people are, to the point where a producer's taking it in his hands now and working with it. And there's editors that are working on it now that are really raising that bar. And then as far as production or producing goes, I think out of all of it, interviews and all that set aside, I'm enjoying the podcasting. What I told a couple weeks ago about my mother and my father, my mother passing, that was really tough, but boy, was that therapeutic. I went through and I talked, grieving to gratitude. And, it's been 30 years since my mom died, and it's still raw. Brian, you're in the same boat.
Oh, yeah,
and and this time of year has really been tough. I mean, she passed away in the fall and all that, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and then I've had other friends, mothers, just she passed away last week with COVID. And so all these things were happening. And I'm like, it's time now. And that was, Christine listened to it afterwards. She knows, the story. She never met my mother, and she's, heard it so many times, but she never heard it that graphically, if you want to call it that. I think I'm most proud of that because I got through it. I got through it without having to edit it. And I'm about tearing up here, but it got me to the point where I was, I could at least discuss it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, who knows who else you're helping with their healing process in, by you being able to show that you are being, you're able to deal with your loss. And, like I say, I get it. We may be doing a New Year's Eve show just to keep me busy. Just keep me distracted. So I get it. And that was a powerful podcast.
Thank you.
What's Anchor FM, right?
It is Anchor FM. It's Ted Talks and Inspires, Ted Davies Artistry. Yep.
Check it out, people. Check it out. Sarah asks, Ted, didn't you say someone got a piece of art tattooed on them?
Yeah, I've got, they're actually getting it done. They haven't gotten it done yet. I do a lot of steampunk, and it was a pencil drawing I actually did for, I think it was October. Yeah. Inktober 2 years ago. And a good friend of ours, enjoyed the art so much. She asked if she could have, of course, I'm not going to sell it to her. She's a dear friend. And it's a small piece, and she's had it. And she says, okay, well, I want to get my whole back done with a full scape on it.
Wow.
So I didn't really know how to handle it because I said, well, I can do your measurements, or I could have your husband or your sister take the measurements. And so, yeah, they're working that out now. But yeah, it's in work now. It's in process now. So, but yeah, that's going to be a really, that is super flattering. I didn't know. And some artists won't copy your work. They'll do their work. So that's been kind of a little trade-off. I think that they're still trying to find an artist that's going to, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. There might be a little bit of their artist interpretation of my work. I don't know. The whole ego thing when you're an artist. So, but I was very flattered, very, very flattered.
Yeah. No, if they do it for yours, it's an homage.
Yeah. Right.
See. Now, you mentioned a new book, and we just happen to have a copy of it as we properly frame it in the thing.
Yeah.
I'll move. Grim 101. First of all, I like the title. Can you tell her, give us your elevator pitch on this book?
So I did a reading of it on my podcast too, by the way, plugging that. Grim is well, I'll tell you the setup for it. We moved up here about 4 years ago. Chris and I decided to downsize. Kids are in college, and we moved up on a Great Lake up north Michigan, mid Michigan. It's kind of it's on the East Coast, so there's morning sun and it's beautiful, right? But right next door to our house is an old cemetery. And it's quite nice in some regards, but well taken care of. But it always intrigued me about how you have ever been in a cemetery. You feel dread, you feel angst, you feel anxiety. Sometimes some people love going there, to different cemeteries. But it was always interesting to me to think of that. Yeah, right. To think of that book, or think of that feeling. What if somebody causes that? What if somebody's job is as a grim in a cemetery that would cause you to feel like that? So I've had that thought in the back of my mind. So as we moved up here, and everybody's like, "Wow, you moved next to a cemetery." What's Some people think it's great. I think it's awesome. It keeps everything in perspective. Right. We've got all the energy in the world on this Great Lake, waves crashing, and all that energy, and then you just pivot to the right, and there's silence. There's gravestones. And you've got this, it's a real perspective change. That ultimately, not everybody's going to be in that cemetery, but ultimately we're going to be dirt someday. So you got to make the most of it. You got to bring so that's what Grim kind of came about. So I thought, what if there was a guy that was stuck there? He didn't know why he was there. He's not very good at his job. And the only thing he's got to read is a manual about being a Grim. And the woman that that owns the cottage next to the cemetery is very interesting to him. Nobody can see him. She's the only one that can see him. And she's kind of a Pinterest witch. She figures out a way to see him, and she thinks that she summons him. And so the comedy ensues. It's a very dark comedy, but it's very endearing when you learn about his name is Jim. Well, they think his name's Jim. And you try to find out exactly who he is and what he is and how he's terrible at his job. He should be a stand-up comic. But he's been there for a couple hundred years and he doesn't even know what a stand-up comic is. And, she kind of brings him out of his comfort zone. So it's an endearing story. So that's the elevator pitch. So.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. Now I see it's a book one.
Yes.
Will this be an ongoing series, or
it will be in it
finite tale to tell?
Right. It'll be about 40 pages, give or take. It'll be more of a smaller, not novella-ish. It's got a lot of watercolor work in it.
Nice.
But it's going to be set up kind of like a memoir, like how the first book will be how Jim's experiences are, how he doesn't understand why he's there, where he came from. Then the second book is probably going to be from his interest of the woman, her perspective of him. So, and then the third book will be a culmination of both. So,
very cool.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm bringing that out this year. It'll be probably early next year. We're doing a couple of things as far as trying to find out what bound books, how we're going to do it. We want a little bit different. I don't want to just have it I would like to have it something more of a like hardback book, something. I'm still working with that right now with everything. So, and I might end up doing crowdfunding. So it really just depends on where everything is with the epidemic and,
Yeah, I get that. Now, I noticed you signed at T. Davies on the cover there. Why are you T. Davies on that?
I usually sign Retrieves the same way. I do all my books T. Davies on that. And if you notice, my signature on my artwork is T. Davies.
Why? Well, yes, it is. Anyway, you can see my Skeletor up there. That's Ted's. And
that's an original.
Still love that. And first of all, let's get this out of the way there so you can see us. And then we'll get back to the yes, and Carl Witzman, what the hell, Cindy will be late. Who authorized this? I have no idea. This is beyond our control, as is many things.
Right.
Charles F. Millhouse of Pulp Reality, StormgatePress.com asks, hey Ted, was comic books a big influence in your art?
Hey, Mr. Millhouse. Yes, absolutely. I think that I don't know how it couldn't have been. Being 7 years old and got my first Star Wars comic, I still have up here. Yeah, there's no way that I could have gotten around it. It's just ingrained in me, the Americana, everything. A lot of the pulp, like we talked about on last week on the show that I was very fortunate enough to be part of. Pulp was a big thing too. My parents were pulp readers and that. So my dad did a lot of, heavy literature reading, but yeah, the pulp things were, all of it. I mean, movie posters from the 80s and the 70s and 60s and 50s and, all that. Yeah, it's just a culmination of my style, Yeah. Absolutely. Good question.
Yeah. And you're also in Pulp Reality #1, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Absolutely proudly. Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty. It's pretty action packed, that magazine.
We'll
have a spot for it later in the show.
Excellent.
Yeah. Rick Bradley asks, do you view an empty canvas with dread, or does your brain go into overdrive with what you want to create? That's an excellent question. A lot of writers have trouble just staring at, the stereotypical blank page. And many artists are the same way. I know of one artist back in the 50s who they had a guy in the studio. He worked in a studio. And every morning someone had to go up to his art desk and draw a single line. Otherwise, the guy could not do a thing. After that, once that little mark was made by somebody else, he could go to town, and he was fast. Really? Huh. Yeah, it was Mort Meskin. He worked in the Joe Simon, Jack Kirby studios in the 50s when they were doing Crestwood and all those like Black Magic comics and all that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so
that's kind of
whoever
cool.
was in first in the office drew on Mort's on artboard, and so the guy could get going. So, but how do you view an empty page?
That's a really good question, Rick.
That is a super question, Rick.
So one of the things that in architecture, a lot of things are symmetry, and I like symmetry in some regards, but it got boring. you got the columns, you got the door in the middle of the house or whatever it is. Then you got the windows and they're all precision and the, barf, that's one thing. That's one way to look at it. When I look at drawing though, if I look at that page and I'll systematically size it up to be symmetrical, and then I force myself to actually go out again. I'm outside the box again. I'm always outside the box. You'll see in some, I'm a little off on, but I'm a little off on a lot of my drawings. You see these copies behind me of Retrieve. It looks like he's centered, but he's actually off. Archimedes is, and there's also other. You'll see that quite a bit in a lot of my drawings. The reason why I do that is because it throws me off kilter a little bit, so I have to create around it, and it's too easy. You see a lot of these. Even my self-portrait I've done, you'll see it on my website. It's a skull, and it's very symmetrical, but it's off. It's turned a bit, and I do it that way so that it still creates interest for me when I'm looking at it. But to answer your question, some of it, watercolor-wise, I really don't know what's going to end up happening. As far as the drawings go, I do, but the color, I have no idea what's going to happen, and that's excitement for me. But as far as, no, it doesn't scare me. I think that if anything, it's limitless. One of the things my dad did, he did a lot of work in acrylic paints, and he had married, or I was going to get married to a woman before he met my mother. And we've got a picture of my brothers. My brother David inherited this beautiful painting my dad did of my brothers, and they were young. But underneath the painting is a semi-nude painting of his fiance before he met my mother. So, and I've got the picture so I can prove it. And actually, I look so much like my dad in this photograph. People think it's actually me, and they're wondering who I'm painting nude. And does Christine know about it? I'm like, absolutely, she knows about it. It's my dad. No, it's not. I'm like, no, I'm serious. So, when you have a blank canvas, it's never truly blank. Even when it's got a white gesso on it or whatever, it's still technically not blank. But if you don't like it with watercolor, you're kind of you have to kind of do something else with it. But if you have a canvas, you can paint over it. But I always look at things a little bit differently when it comes to paper versus canvas. Paper, it doesn't scare me because I've done so much work with paper over the years. Even writing, it was talking about blank screens. I don't write blank screens. I'll write I won't do anything on a computer when it comes to that blank screen when I'm writing. Everything's all hand done. Everything. Yeah, but I don't know if that answered the question or not, but I don't feel overwhelmed at all. I think it's exciting. I think that one of the things with watercolor is you can make a mistake and there's not really any repair to it. So that's it. It is what it is. It's down. With acrylics and with oils, you can, cover it up a bit. But so I don't know if that answers the question or not. But overdrive, I'm always on overdrive. I'm caffeinated, and I'm always on overdrive. Always thinking.
Amen.
Always thinking.
Well, there you go. And Teresa Dunn wants to know, what do you like most about your own artistry? What do you appreciate about it?
I think the expression once I'm done. Everybody knows me, knows I deal with anxiety and that's something that I think I mentally do to myself. I think that it's something you can, and caffeine probably doesn't help, but you once the things are down and you see what's there, it's like, oh, okay, I get that now. I can see that feeling being in that painting. And people wonder why my paintings cost so much. I'm like, well, actually, because I was really having a crappy day that day. And this is what reminds me of it. And you actually own this now. You actually have part of my being of that moment. It sounds funny, but it's like, that's it. So, but whatever, but that's what I really like. I like the moment that when I'm creating and I'm like, yeah, okay. That reminds me of, whatever, this experience when I was, a teenager or whatever. And,
Well, I was laughing because one of my favorite musicians is a guy named Neil Innes, who I've
Sure.
mentioned frequently on the show.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he has one of his songs is kind of like a faux protest song. And he starts it out with every time when he's tuning his guitar and everything, he goes, well, I've suffered for my art. now it's your turn. So, yeah, that's
Great.
what that reminded
That's great.
me of to a degree. Now, I want to take Teresa's question. I want to ask a little variation of it. Now, you
Sure.
get a lot of compliments for your work. What do other people appreciate? What do they comment on most about your work? What is their greatest aspect of your work that they
You know, one of the things that I get all the time, and I don't really know how to answer it, and I thank people. I love your style. That's all they say. They don't. I had one person say to me, "I don't. I see Mike Mignola in your work. I see Frank Miller. I see El Greco. I see people that I've inspired. I've been inspired by. But when people say to me that, you took this on a whole nother level to where I didn't expect that character to look like that, that's awesome. That's a real compliment, and I think they mean it in a good way. But that's the ultimate when they give me the, I'm gonna hang this up, or they become fans and they've got like 6 pieces or something in their apartment or their house. I mean, God, I'm completely humbled by that. Completely humbled.
That's great. That's great. Now, Teresa wants to know, you once rode in that bicycle race. Now, will you ever do it again?
Hell no, not at my age. No, I might do a sag wagon, what they call a sag wagon, where I follow the bikes, in case somebody breaks down. But no, I'm since retired from the Ragbri circuit. It's not happening. I don't think I'm just not doing it. No, not anymore.
Okay, I
I
think,
might have to put a cigar ashtray on there, maybe. But
yeah, there you go. You can do a live
they've got battery
broadcast.
they've got a lot of battery powered bikes now. Maybe we can work something out hybrid.
Yeah, there you go. Get a
Yeah.
fistful of cigars. You can do your cigar show live. So
On the road. Yeah.
on the road, yeah. Carl Wisdom says Ted's style reminds me of David Frost on his interviews. That is, I grew up on David Frost, and
Thank you,
that's
Carl.
quite
I
a
think that's a
compliment
good
there,
thing.
brother.
It is. Thanks.
There you go. And Candace Comaleri, mwah, hi Ted, hi Brian. Good to see you, Candace. Love you, darling.
How you doing?
And she's also in Pulp Reality #1. You
Yes,
should
she
go
is.
to Amazon
Yep.
right now and ordering your copy, I swear. And
Absolutely.
Sarah goes, yes, Green Room Ted. Love Green Room Ted. Love the interviewer Ted, too. It
Thank you.
sounds like you have a fan.
Okay.
Sarah, and what a fan she is. Anyway, Sarah wants to know, Ted, are your books available on Amazon, and are they art books?
Not yet. I've got a couple things with Amazon. I'm still a little leery of, and I was waiting. Brian's kind of helped me through quite a bit of it, but there's a couple things I like to keep it direct. You can order everything through Ted Davies Artistry, though my website, and then we send them out either direct or I got peeps that handle it. So, but as far as the art books, I haven't done anything yet. People have asked me. I've had a couple people actually want me to put a few of my, instead of buying one piece of art, they'd rather have a series of them. I do prints, and that's one of the things. The prints have been very good seller for me. But I thought about doing that in the future because I've actually sold a lot of the original art. People this last year bought a ton of my original art, I was shocked because they weren't they're a little bit of an investment. I claim the rights to all of my work. So if you buy the original, you can have me not make a print of it anymore for an additional fee. But I think that, usually they're pretty cool about it. Well, I got the original, but you just have a print, and I limit the prints too. I limit it to like 50 to 100, depending on who it is and, or what I'm doing with it. So good question.
Yeah, very good question. Carl Wisman says Ted will not be niched. No one puts Ted in a niche, that's for sure. Sarah says, I love the way you dig deep into people's histories and how they got where they are now, Ted. Interesting.
Thank you. Well, and it's really them though. I'm not going to take any credit for it because all I'm trying to do is hold that, not a mirror up in a bad way. I just want people to see, hey, listen, these people have a history. You might not like the way they look, or you might not like the way they draw, or you might not like the way they write, but they're human beings. If all of us could do that, just interview one person a week and make the world see them the way that they were brought up, what a huge, that would be such a movement. And then you'd see how many people you had commonality with. it would be such an epic thing, and so simple. Take an hour of your time and just, find out how they got there,
Mm-hmm.
who helped them get there or who didn't help them get there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I look down here at the agenda. I've been doing that since May. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
it's true. Yeah.
It
Clyde
is
Hall
true.
says, Ted, regarding your artwork. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Ted?
Nope. Nothing. I was agreeing with you.
Oh,
I was
I
agreeing.
just had that momentum going. My tongue,
Nope.
my
It's
mouth
good.
just keeps going.
You're
So
good.
anyway, Ted, regarding your artwork, says Clyde Hall, when you start an illustrating project, be it a story, a cover, or something else, what stage of the creative process is the most enjoyable? Aside, I would say that probably aside from that moment when you finally decide to release it into the wild, or is that your favorite part?
Well, that's a really good question, Clyde. It depends on the collaboration first. It depends on what's the status of who it's for. Like, for instance, I'll bring up Clyde. So you were instrumental with Millhouse. Millhouse ended up getting Clyde and I together on the drawings, and the correspondence that we had, I have a friend now in Clyde because of the way that it just all worked out. That is the most rewarding for that piece of those two pieces that I did for him. Um, when I've got some parts that when I do drawings, I'm dreading it. I was talking today live about the watercolor, and you have to redo a watercolor. You don't, it's like you spill water on it and whatever, or it doesn't look right. It doesn't dry properly, and you just have to redo it. It's kind of like losing your prose on a computer. You didn't
Yeah,
save, right? Same feeling.
yeah,
Um, but you've got to, yeah, you've got to take it with a grain of salt. I'll tell you one of the most, and this terrible because I'm always saying that money's a byproduct.
right.
When you get paid for something that you've been really not dreading, but you've gotten to the point where you're exhausted from it. You gotten and you achieved everything that the person wanted and more.
Mm-hmm.
That's sweet. That
Yeah,
is sweet. That is you know, yeah. That's like the night I met my wife. You know what I mean? That it's a sweet time. You know what I mean? It's got that feeling. You know what I mean?
I hear
So
you. I hear you. Well, our darling Candace Camilleri says that's how I always felt. The money is a bonus, but it's about the people, the
yeah.
bonds, and the memories you make with them.
Right. And and not Candace, you're right, but not all of them are, stellar experiences either. I've had some real pains in the butt too. And I'm sure everybody can vouch for that. I've had people not pay me. I've had people, it goes on and on. But the majority of the if you want to call it success of it all has been the smiles on the face, the Christmas, there's certain people I give paintings to my kids every year. And every year they kind of, for a while there, they rolled their eyes like, oh, Jesus, what's he doing this year? God, do I have to hang that on my wall? Now they appreciate it. Now they're understanding. Okay. Yeah, I get it now. Dad's not completely nuts. But when they start reacting, when other people start reacting and they're saying, oh man, that's so cool. I've been wanting some of your work for, and that, what a bonus that is. That's great. But the money is nice. I will say that.
Yeah,
As a byproduct, of course. But
yeah. There aren't many of us here doing it for free deliberately.
no.
Uh,
No. A
we're
lot of
all
people
for
want us
commerce.
to. A lot of people want us to, but no, not happening.
Yeah, well, that's a friend of mine, Francesco, who's a wonderful artist.
Hmm.
He says you can, was it free art, or was it free art isn't usually very good, and good art isn't free.
Right.
You
That's
know,
pretty good.
you get what you pay
I'll give
for.
him that.
Yeah. And Rick Bradley asks, what is a good editing program that you recommend for a beginning broadcaster, also affordable? Now,
Okay.
you work in two different mediums. You work the audio visual of
Yeah.
YouTube, and you also do the podcast on
Okay.
Spotify.
So,
So,
and I talk about this too on the podcast, not necessarily on YouTube. So one of the things too that I want you to understand is I am a cheap ass. I don't spend money unless it's something I really, really want. Chris will argue with me on this. Cigars, okay, I spent a little bit of money on that. Watches, okay, a little bit, but I don't like, comic books, but I'm careful, Okay, so first off, Rick, if you're on do you have iPhone or you have Samsung? I usually use, if it's iPhone, I go iMovie. These are free. So iMovie, InShot. InShot is another one. InShot, I think, works for all of them. InShot's the one I use for my thumbnails, for my small videos. So InShot is a powerhouse as far as I'm concerned. It's easy to use. You use it on the phone. Boom, 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 done. And you guys will watch. All you guys will do, you'll make mine look like a bunch of cave paintings by the time we're done.
I wrote
But
it down.
yeah,
it down.
Quick is a good one. QUIK. That's a pretty good one. They do like my intro a while back. I don't use that intro anymore, but it used to be that. Pretty cool though. That was pretty neat. What else? I think that's it. I know that the producer in California uses DaVinci, and I don't know if that's a free. I haven't used that yet, but that's quite an extensive. That's an extensive processing movie software. I don't know if it's free or not, but try to go to the app stores, see what you've got. But those are the ones I use. iMovie's so easy. If this monkey can do it, you can use iMovie. It's such an awesome tool. But there's some give and take. I'll go in and I'm going to give you some of my trade secrets here. I'll go in and I'll video everything on my phone, let's say, not this. Everything I have now set up is with sound and, the whole thing. That's how you get my sultry voice, apparently. But anyway, I digress. Let me go back. So I'm using my phone. Let me get my phone real quick. So I get on the phone. I'll end up videoing everything with the phone, and it burns through almost all my data on some of it. So you usually can. I would set it to 4K if you do it. If not, then just the standard, whatever it is, and one lower to it, HD, whatever. Video everything on this. Then I go to iMovie. Then after iMovie, I'll either add the music in, unless I have to fast forward the whole material, because iMovie only lets you fast forward so fast. But if I take that, save it to my files, and then I go into InShot, I can open up the video there. Then I can super fast. That's why I got all these sketches that are like 30 seconds. They took me like 5 minutes. And then I can add music to it afterward. But iMovie seems to be a really quick way to click and paste, and you can do a lot of different things. You can change the to gray, you can make it look like it's an old vintage movie. And I love that creativity part of it. So yeah, I would go iMovie, then to InShot, and then go from there. Now, InShot, one of the things you want to do though, the free app, you have to go in and you have to click remove InShot's tag on the window, because you can do it once or you can do it forever for $2.99. Me being the cheap butt, I just do it once on every video, so that way it takes that out. Sometimes you'll catch me, I forgot to do it, but you try to stretch that dollar as much as you can, because that dollar will be spent somewhere else. The other thing is too, write it off. Set yourselves up as a business, because I can't stress that enough. This isn't a hobby for me. I mean, I talk about money being the byproduct and everything else. Bottom line is I'm getting the write-offs. We might not make money on this or this or this, but you can bet your butt we're making it somewhere else. So anyway, so that's a really good segue to get into the editing part of it, I think. But again, iPhone, find out what works for Samsung if you've got a PC version or whatever.
Now, what do you use for your podcasts?
Okay, so the podcasts, thanks. So Anchor FM, free. That's all I got to say about that. Free. So I use Audacity to record, free. So you go to Audacity, and, I think that Carl, you might want to jump in on this too. I think Carl's really good with Audacity, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's really good at OBS. But there's so much stuff on YouTube, guys. Get educated. University of YouTube, I'm telling you. And then subscribe to Ted Davies Artistry when you're there. But, and Brian, for that matter. Is it Rising Tide as well, or no? Is this Brian K. Morris?
Brian K. Morris, Rising Tide Publications. Do a search for either, and up I will.
Right. I belong. I'm so there already.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I need all the help I get.
You're a godsend when it comes to that. You are like I said, hashtag one Fez to promote them all. But as far as that goes, Anchor is a great format. Now, keep in mind, when you're using YouTube or Anchor or any of these, if they go down, they go down. So you have to figure out where do you have a backup? Audacity offers you that because you can save that onto your hard drive and you've got them listed. I haven't quite gotten the hook yet of going YouTube to podcast. So that's why I do it two separately things. And I think that it's actually better for me because the podcast is more of a personal me during a week. It takes 20 minutes. It's almost a meditative thing for me. YouTube is, now that we're doing it live, it's a different ball game too. It's going to free up my time so I get my books done because all this takes time, the editing and you know what? So I'm just like, throw spaghetti on the wall. I'm going. So everything's live now. So that's it. So if the dog barks, it barks. That's the way it's going to be working now. So that's the way all my interviews are going to be. And Carl knows this with the cigar show. We might do maybe one or two that are going to be recorded, but all due respect, we're going balls to the wall on that. So that's it. It's going to be full force live. So anybody that's going to be interviewing with me in the future, 22nd of December, Brian, it's live. So bring your drinks. So bring your drinks. Hopefully that helps you a little bit, Rick. So, but yeah, Anchor has been great. They offer intros. You can do and you can make money with it too. You can set up a segue for money. So after a certain number of clicks, people views, they pay you instantly, boom, boom, boom. And you can put them in the beginning of your podcast, in the middle, at the end, whatever. And you set up with your bank account and you're done. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is that there are ways to monetize broadcasting, whether it's podcasting or vlogging like you and I do here.
Yep.
It's just a matter of figuring out what's there.
Right.
And as you advance, your options actually increase.
Yeah. And find out, you might get a private sponsor. You've got your Patreon.
Yep.
Which if you want to throw that on there, do it, man. Everybody needs to tip the host. The Patreon.
I wouldn't be that
well
about it. Not me. No.
Yeah, do it. I haven't gotten on Patreon yet, so because I want to, and again, because I'm cheap and I want to see you succeed or fail at first. It seems like everybody's
explosion as I'm wandering into the minefield.
Everybody seems to be doing well with it, so it's like, hey, I might as well do it. So, but I know that there's certain content on Patreon that is that's valid, and that's what I really wanted. I wanted something to where not everybody. What really changed me on it, and this is kind of funny. Christine doesn't have a YouTube account. So she's never seen, I think, the videos that I put out when I'm watching them, rewatching them on our TV or something. It's funny. So I'm like, well, okay. So if I end up, let me backtrack, Rick, real quick. Now that I'm thinking about it, StreamYard. Okay. So StreamYard was free up till, well, it's still free. Carl I got the email. Carl ended up calling me on it, and you ended up talking to me about it too. And I'm like, $10 a month. Okay, that's worth it. That's completely worth it when you get 3 formats, live recording. You got all the banner work, you got everything that you need, and that's money well spent.
Yeah.
Versus the $40 it would have cost months ago. So now, it's still limited, but big deal. There's so much to do there. So StreamYard's the last one. If they still offer that, I don't know if they're still offering that package yet for $10 a month. If they do, take it and run with it.
Yeah,
it's well worth it. Well worth it. So that was the other thing. Sorry, I should have mentioned that first, but.
Oh no.
But,
that's fine. And another nice thing is that this is not something you load onto your computer.
Right.
But this is something you use your computer to access. All of this takes place on that World Wide Web thingy.
Yeah, and it's multiple platforms. So if anything goes down, you've got a backup somewhere else, and that's really important. If we haven't learned anything, YouTube went down last week, 2 weeks ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
that was freaking
exciting.
Out a little bit. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like every time, one of the major social platforms.
Right.
How many times has Facebook gone down in the last couple of years?
Right. And even I've had some issues right now with Facebook as far as letting me see certain things, and people are sharing stuff I can't see that they shared what I posted, and it's really weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's just part of the game. But look at sponsorships too, like what you're doing. Like what I've done. I've got a sponsor that handles, miking and sound and all this other stuff, which we're going to have. Can I plug that real quick if you don't mind?
Sure, by all means.
So Thursday, we're doing a live, special live cigar pairing show with artisan roaster Pete Ryan, the guy that owns Indian River Roasters that sponsors my channel. And we are going to be, there it is. So we're going to be bringing in Pete at the shop where he makes the magic happen. And we're going to actually show some cigar pairings with what, and this is all virtual. We're going to be doing, Carl will be home, I'll be here, and, Pete will be at the shop working on that. But it'll be that's a really important thing because it's not always, you're helping other companies too, like you do with Plasma Fire Graphics. I mean, there's a lot of things there so look at that, look at it as a symbiotic relationship because there's things that I couldn't roast coffee if I tried. I can make coffee, and he couldn't reach the amount of people because of the platform I've got. So it works out just beautifully. And then with the cigar show, coffee and cigars go hand in hand. Okay. So it's a win-win, and that's, it helps everybody out. And the other thing too, look for the niche, look for your, don't necessarily do everything I've done. I mean, cause I'm still learning. If you find a niche and you really want to work with that, say if it's horror or whatever it is, go with it. You don't have to do, cigar shows and watch, reviews and, plus trying to sell your books and show people how to draw. And you don't have to do all that,
Yeah. Well, it's like I, mentioned, I had a friend who sent me a vlog of a gamer. I don't remember if they were from Twitch or YouTube or where, but they requested that I watch that video and tell them what they are doing that my friend could emulate. And first of all, I really should have said, well, how much are you paying me to watch this thing?
Right.
Because that's my time.
Right.
But I told them, and I really hold to this, is watch somebody else and figure out what they're not doing.
YouTube's full of them.
Yeah.
Look how amazing. You got some amazing polished promoting tools on YouTube. Watch them.
Seriously.
I mean, it's free.
Yeah.
Make a list of what you don't like, what you do like. One thing I don't like, and I can speak openly, right?
Go for it.
All right. One of the things that I don't like is I do not like clickbait. I'm not a big fan of clickbait.
Yeah.
I will not, so, people know me and I'm a pretty straight shooter with stuff. I don't like, and I know that I would have a super amount of fans if I did this, but I don't think we need to put my wife in a tight t-shirt on my videos. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that that's the right way to promote what I'm trying to do. Right. There's a market for that if you want to do that. I don't do that. You see what you get. I mean, I'm about as clickbait as it's going to get. So sorry. I don't like, and maybe because I'm older, maybe because I have a daughter, maybe it's just me now. And I'm not saying I'm prude, but I'm just saying that I think that there's a very thin line where it can be something I just don't want to be involved in. Does that make sense at all?
No, it makes perfect sense. I knew a lady who had her own comic book back in the 90s. And it started out, she was following the trend at that time of basically porn comics. Not dino porn, but porn. Yeah. And so her character was, her whole shtick was she had superpowers every time she got sexually aroused.
Okay.
And, it was based on this lady, and she was a gorgeous lady and very intelligent. So she knew that this was the niche she could make the quickest money at. But then after doing this for a couple of years and getting hit on by all the fanboys who expected her to be this character, and the fact that she wanted to tell larger stories that didn't have a sexual context to it. And so she started doing more, I guess you'd call it mainstream stories, good versus evil, a lot of humor, really good comics still, but it just not, not the bodice rippers they had been like 2 years before. But the problem is, once you start going down that road, people expect that from you all the time, or you get painted with that brush, and people don't expect you to get out of that
Right.
particular.
Well, and
So I think you're doing the right thing by not going down the clickbait path.
right, and I think it's great. Listen, there's a market for it. I don't mean that.
Oh yeah,
In
I
certain
agree.
genres, that's great, and I think whatever, if that's your thing, that's cool. I know for me, and you want to go with your gut, but for me, I don't feel comfortable with it. It's one thing when we joke around or whatever, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But when we're dealing with the general public, and if we don't know people, I just don't want to have that kind of energy. I don't want to have that brought to the table, so to speak. So if anybody, if you're if you're into that kind of thing, that's fine. But it's just not what I want for Ted Davies artistry. Keep in mind, I'm an artist. There's nothing wrong with nudity. I don't mean that. But when it's too provocative or it's just over the it's over the top, you can have it.
Okay.
You can have it. So
You heard him.
know your audience. That's all.
Exactly. And also know the audience you want to attract.
Right.
So
Right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
thank you very much, Sarah. We sincerely love it. Love the out of you. I really do. And Teresa Dunn says Ted is a very educated and very talented man. Vote Ted for president.
I don't want that duty, but thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody lied to you. I don't know if I'm very well educated. Thank you though. I appreciate that. I appreciate that kindly.
There you go. And here we go. Joe Dog McKeel says 1,000 miles on a bike in a week. Just know if I did, there was a gun involved.
I'll tell you what, you think that Iowa's flat. It is not. It is not flat, especially by the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
My butt still hurts thinking about it. That was 10% grade uphill. It was unbelievable. It was agony on two wheels. It was just terrible.
And
that
right
part
now,
of it.
yeah, and right now,
But then you went downhill to the Mississippi River, which is great. But that was so tough that last day.
yeah,
that was 30 some odd years ago.
Sarah's writing down, my butt hurts when I think about it.
Hashtag shut up, Christian. If he's even on here, I don't know if he's down here or not. But.
Exactly. Now, Sarah says she is interested in reading Grim Auto 1. Great elevator pitch for your book, Ted. It's got me wanting to find out more. And is it on Amazon? Now, it's not finished yet, right?
Right, it's not. So if you go to the podcast, and it'll be, I think it's the first one, it'll have some readings in it, and that'll give you a little bit more of a taste. Then you'll really want to read it after that. But that's a really good segue for it. It'll actually come straight out of the book. I read it hopefully, and that's one thing too. I want to get some feedback on my reading voice, because I know sometimes when authors read, it's a little, So if you could just let me know if that's really bad, Ted. You probably don't want to be doing that.
There you go. And Bill Sarn says hello to Brian in Green Room.
Ted. It's gonna stick.
That's right. It's your rep now. And I think we answered this earlier from Sarah. Sarah, you are considering putting together an art portfolio book.
But again, all my stuff is still open to print too. I have prints on hand, and they usually range about $10 per print. They're signed. I'll send them out. I don't know what the mail. It depends on where you live, but you can always mail them out.
There you go. Hey, Pops fans, and hey, Trevor Hawkins. And Bill Sargent says, "What's your favorite thing to draw, Ted?"
That's a good one. You know what I really like drawing is tikis.
Yeah.
Tikis. I love tikis, man. I draw. It sounds funny, but yeah, I think tikis are so cool because there's like no rhyme or reason for them. They're just badass, I'm kind of a rockabilly freak anyway, but I like I just like yeah.
Oh, you mentioned the rockabilly thing. I've been finding, thanks to our Nevermorians, channels on YouTube that broadcast like music constantly. I found one for rockabilly.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen it. I mean,
there's a couple of them actually. Pandora, I really like for that reason. Spotify does some really good stuff too. There's a guy out in Ann Arbor, Michigan called Del Vareel, his name is.
Yeah.
And he has Go Cat Go as his station on Facebook. And I've been listening to him for years. I've known Del for a long, long time.
Well, I've been finding very cool YouTube too. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's good background music.
It is. Right? It is. Don't play it in your videos though, because it's not copyright laws and all that stuff. Be careful with that.
Yeah, that's something we probably better mention to Rick, that music is real sensitive, and there are actually companies right now that are going around and trying to find people
Yeah.
who have
They've got, well, right now I put the stuff that I got for my intro, both my shows, the Cigar Show and then TED Live, is all YouTube free, right?
yeah,
But they still, Instagram still flags it. So I can't even
really.
play it on there. So I have to just do so you'll notice that on Instagram, it's just a picture with the link. So fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah, There's something called YouTube Studio, Rick Bradley,
Yeah.
that you can get music that. And the thing is, my understanding is it will. Part of the promise is putting it up there means it's free forever.
Yeah.
That all of a
Right.
sudden they can't sign with one of these agencies, which is how I got dinged on 3 different bits of
Right.
music.
And you got to really be careful with that because sometimes they'll switch. YouTube didn't do that, did they? Or did they do that to you years
No, it
ago?
wasn't YouTube. It was all 3 cases that I had were with one of these
That's right.
companies that were
I
representing
remember
the
you said that.
artists.
Yeah, I
So
remember you
yeah,
telling us that. Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah, so yeah, make sure
got
that
to
you're
be
doing
mindful of.
that. Make sure that you're checking that out because some of them will say, like on InShot, what I was telling you earlier, InShot will say, "Hey, you can use this, but you have to put their name in the description or on the screen," and that I don't know. I just make my own stuff if that's the case,
Mhm.
you
We'll
know.
talk to Dave Woodrum. He does music.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, of course, right.
yeah, yeah. But
Keep it in the loop.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's one thing you got to
keep it
be
in the
mindful.
tribe. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And oh, by the way, anybody who wants to be part of my Ted's tribe, get a hold of me, email me, and we'll do a quick evaluation. We'll find out if you want to be part of this group of people. But I would love to have a few. I know a few people that are already on the website that I'd love to add their names to if there's anybody's interested in that. But Ted's tribe is something I've been growing for a while. So anyway, okay,
definitely,
sorry.
definitely, definitely, definitely. Bill Certain has a great question here. How long did it take you to find your own art style? I think that I'm still looking for mine. It's probably hiding from me. Yeah, I
Hmm.
hear you. So how
Um,
long did it take you to find, you have a very unique art style, in that your comic art doesn't really draw from like the standards like a Kirby or a Buscema,
right, right.
but it is very distinctive, very recognizable. How long did it take you to realize, okay, this is how I need to convey my comic book work?
I think that, uh, gosh, I was probably in my 20s when I really started drawing the way I'm drawing now. A lot of it is a lot of it's comfort with the materials that you're using, the pen and stuff. Because I know that if you see me drawing differently on, uh, say, poster board versus watercolor paper, it's because of the way it's actually the structure of the pen and the paper. My drawing certain ways is because of the materials I'm using. It sounds funny, but if I use like a number 2 pencil on just a regular piece of paper, it'll look different than what I do with watercolor paperwork because there's so many different dimples and everything else. But I would say probably in my 20s. A lot of the stuff that you'll see a lot of my work, and I also belong to Threadless. I've had a Threadless shop for a while. You'll see some of my rockabilly, my hot rods, and my rat rods and stuff like that are on, and I do. I just love that feel of movement, kind of a not comical, but just it's illustrative, but it's like it's just a little bit. It's not realistic. I got really tired in college of doing fine art. Take a photograph if you want it photorealistic. That's great that people have the technique to do that. I don't want that. And I was talking today about it too on my live feed. I want to show you something through my eyes. And that's what, it's a technique. It's part technique, but it's also, what you feel comfortable with the products that you're, and but I say it probably in my 20s. As drafting goes, my drafting has always been spot on because I had to, it was before the computers and everything when we did that. They were still That's one of the reasons I've got my drafting board still, but because I enjoy traditional so much. But yeah, I think that probably in my 20s is when it started. I noticed that as I'm getting older, I don't know if it's arthritis or what it is, but my hands are different too. I don't draw as long as I used to draw. Sometimes I could draw, 10 hours in a day. Nah, probably 5, maybe 6, maybe. So
It
But
happens to all of us,
yeah,
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 same here. I
right.
know what you mean. Now you mentioned your store. Nick Tockard would like to know what is the best venue for transitioning to selling your artwork. Now I know the tip, like Nick is on
Yeah,
deviantart.com, which is a great place. You can also sell your work on there. But
right.
you just mentioned a place where you sell your artwork. Extol the virtues of it, and why did you pick that particular one?
Well, Threadless offered a couple things. I can get a lot of the clientele that I've got, because that's what I consider them. They're clientele because they're repeat customers. They're not just one customer. They don't just buy one thing usually, thank God. Um, but I always wanted something with a coffee mug, kind of like somebody I know here has a coffee mug with their logo on it. But you got to be really egomaniac to have that. But I know some people still have it, right? Don't you have one?
Well, I have Teespring now.
Huh?
I have Teespring now.
What's Teespring?
That's for fun things that you need to have right now, such as these delightful and
Our
stylish COVID masks. Plus, your coffee will taste better. Get your
right.
coffee from Ted, then put it in one of these,
There you go.
and you will achieve something that poets dedicate their lives to describing. Anyway,
That's
uh,
right. But the diversification is key, right? So you have to make sure that you've got something that's going to, because you know what? Somebody's going to want your artwork if you're an artist on a shower curtain, right? Or on a toilet seat. Um, it was just another progression of Ted Davies artistry, and I figured if I could have T-shirts for people with my stuff on it, hey, even better. Not, I mean, just because they're enjoying the artwork. That's the thing, and I've sold a lot of tikis that way, a ton of tiki artwork that way. Um, but as far as smaller stuff, so like say that before you do any of this, one nice thing about Threadless, if I can plug them, is they'll do the prints for you. They'll print off whatever you want in certain sets. The problem that I have with it is that it eliminates the cons, the con events, the conventions. So that was a little bit of and they're more expensive because of the shipping and everything else. So I don't sell many prints through there anymore. T-shirt wise, yeah. Hat wise, yes, and that kind of stuff. Rugs, sold a bunch of tiki rugs for bathrooms, which I think is great. But that's I think it's crazy, but why not? Water bottles, uh, Etsy is a great one because you have control of that. You can mail the things out. Etsy was nice because of my comic books. I could do a few things with that when it first started before I got the website up and rolling. I've got a really awesome tech team. Um, Alex, his name's Grim, not associated with the book, but Alex Grimm and Kate Jones. Well, Kate Ryan. She is. They're both just awesome people, and they built TedDaviesArtistry.com's website, and they've got everything. They've got the whole shot, and the link to Threadless too. So if you've got these different formats and you're diversifying your space on the web, so you get your one website, and then you have everything go to that, your YouTube, your Instagram, whatever, TED Talks, TED Draws, all these things, and the Threadless, and it's a one-stop shop. And all you got to do is put in TedDaviesArtistry.com or whatever your hook is. I mean, that's really, I think, the best way to go. And even if it's for an Etsy shop, or even if you're handing them out of your garage, whatever, sending them out through your garage, whatever, that's the essence of it all. One thing that I wish I would have done is gotten barcodes, like we were talking about with Amazon and all these other things, because my reach would have been so much bigger. But it's all a balancing act right now, because there's certain things with Amazon I'm still checking out, and I like having the control, and I talk about that too. That's kind of my Achilles heel a little bit, because the control is a big thing. You got to let go of it, and I let go of certain things, but I'm still on that. So, and that's something that Brian might know more about, with Santastein and all the rest of these.
we'll talk.
There's some definite things that I know that you're, I've sold all over the world, but I've had to mail things, and a lot of the stuff I've sold is PDF, and that was the other thing too. Alex and Kate hooked up everything with the PDFs, everything, and I don't have to do any of it, and it's all done through PayPal, and yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, and it's pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's pennies on the dollar to set it all up,
Yeah.
and they're just terrific people. They're very economical. I recommend, but they're Ted's techies first. So before any of that happens,
Uh,
you make sure I get a say so in it because I don't want it taken away from my stuff. Just saying.
there you go. There you go. No, I understand that completely. And yeah, we can talk about the Amazon thing. But one of the things that appealed to me about Amazon when I first heard about electronic publishing, and it's the same thing why I picked Teespring
Mhm.
for my merchandise. Hi, kids. It's in the description below. Um, the fact is, I don't have to mail anything out,
Right.
and I don't have to take returns,
It's a
and I
no-brainer.
don't have to do any of the bookkeeping.
Right.
They send me the money once a month, and
That's the trade-off, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's turnkey. You don't have to worry about it. And that's one thing that I'm dealing with right now. How do we balance that? How do we make it so that we're making money on our sleep?
right,
We got that with the PDFs, okay, but we still have to send out books. We still have to send out prints sometimes,
right,
and then of course I take commissions, and that's normal. That's just something I do. But
right.
you know,
No, I get it. I
I'm not
get it.
complaining.
But
I'm not
I just
complaining. But
figured, the more I can pass off to somebody who's
yeah,
already doing it,
delegate.
yeah,
Absolutely.
delegate. Yeah,
Yep.
delegating is a good thing.
Yep.
And we're going to delegate the question asking to gospel illusionist Jake Lindsay. He wants to know, what is your favorite comic book villain of all time?
Mm. It's going to give me a minute on that one.
Okay. While you're thinking about that, do you read current comics?
Only indies now. I've gotten to the point now where it's all indie comics, everything. It's ironic. It's right there. I got the multiple that section right there. This
Uh-huh.
section right here is all the unread stuff from the last Kickstarters. I've got 30 of them I've got to go through.
I think I've only got about a dozen. I've been working on it.
So Jake, I would think, man, that is a good question because I don't, I've been such a big fan of Hellboy, and there's not really, I don't consider it a real villain one villain in that story. I've always liked, I really liked the Joker, um, old school Joker, because it was, but then, I was born after in 71, but 66 and all that Batman that played over and over and over again. And that whole Riddler that was so cool.
Yes.
But I would say probably the Joker, and I would say in the movie Heath Ledger, probably.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very much into that psychopath mentality. I didn't really, what was it, Suicide Squad? I wasn't real. Uh, what was his name?
Jared
Jared.
Leto.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job, but it was like, it's still a little bit too.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger was the one I liked the best, but Joker, I would say, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a good choice. That's a good choice.
Mhm.
Kelly Austin has another great question. Ted, before you got to where you are now, was there ever a time in your life that caused you to become discouraged and want to just quit, leaving your life's passion on the floor? And if so, how did you overcome it? And where does your inner strength come from?
Hmm.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, I mean, you know what? I think it's a constant day-to-day thing, Kelly. I think that if you don't have a good support system, regardless of whatever you're going through, whether it's a kind word coming from somebody that you don't know, sometimes that's nice, rather than a kind word from somebody who you expect it from, right? Isn't that terrible? But I know that, sometimes I know Christine and I will talk about that. It's nice to have somebody that you don't know say something kind. Isn't that weird how that works?
It makes sense, though. It makes a lot of sense because you almost expect your friends to be supportive of
Right,
you and to have that kind word when you say you need it.
right,
But for
right.
something like that to just happen out of the blue, that's quite a bit of serendipity there.
Sure. Life's passion is a pretty big, that's a pretty big statement. Because passion, for me, passion isn't drawing. It is creating, but it's not necessarily drawing. It's getting the message that I've got, the voices in my head's getting that out. And passion's a really funny thing in life, because do we ever really find out when you start losing time in what you're doing? I think, and you're completely in spirit. I think that is your passion. I think that if you're inspired, that's what it means, right?
Yeah.
You're forgetting the time around you, and you're not hungry anymore. You're not thinking about food. You're not thinking about the bills that have to be paid. Yeah, there was a time in my life, I'll tell you. And the kids, if they're watching, don't my kids don't take this the wrong way, but I know that when I was, and most people know me that are really close to me know this. It was really hard for me as a not single dad. I hate saying that word, as a divorced father, because I had Christine. She was and it still is my backbone with everything. You have, you feel like you're leasing your children with the court system. And didn't matter what I did, I always was being judged on whether the money was there or the money wasn't there, or I overpaid, or I didn't get this right off, or whatever it was. I wasn't working hard enough. I wasn't. That just, I don't wish that on anybody. To having it, I don't think that, and the kids have a good mom. I don't mean that, but the court systems and all that, and there's a reason why we have those. But I think that there's a lot of guys that aren't deadbeats that get treated like they're not. It gets to the point where, and it goes both ways. I think, I know from my experience from the male side of it, but I think that there are times that it was devastating. Nothing was good enough. It was never enough it was never enough money. I wasn't never doing enough. I was never around the kids enough. It was on and on. So they're still my passion. They were why I did a lot of the things I didn't really want to do. When things changed, when the market imploded in 2008, let me tell you, architecturally, it was terrible. It was a massacre in Detroit. It was terrible. There was nothing, and it went from government jobs to nothing. It went from government jobs to government assistance real quick, for a lot of people, and it was a real eye opener. But I don't know if I ever lost my passion, because I think that the passion that when you've got that feeling, and you're where we're at right now. And I tell everybody this, I am not there's no self-made men or women. Everybody has somebody that's helped them, whether it's my wife or my family or my kids, or, Brian, Nevermorians, everybody, Ted's Tribe, everybody was involved. My clients that purchased my books, my customers, whatever, my fans, if you want to call them that. So yeah, I just don't think that I've ever gotten to that point. I've had a couple times, even Brian and I've talked about this recently. It's just, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. You're doing all this content, and you're trying to raise the bar for all these people, and you don't see anything. You don't see a like, or you don't see somebody subscribe. You get subscribers drop off, and it's just like, you're just exhausted from it all. And you want so badly to connect with somebody, and then you get somebody that's like, I get it. And then they're like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think that this might work? Or they're interested in something to where, how did you get that pen stroke, or did you buy that pen? Or there's little tiny things like that get you going. And it's things like this with Brian, to where I'm not having to check comments while I'm interviewing people. You know what I mean? It's those little tiny things that I take, I embrace, and it kind of builds back recharge the battery, so to speak.
I think this will recharge your batteries just a little. Sarah says, Ted, I think it'd be great if you made a coffee book table of your art. Just a suggestion, and she would buy it.
All right. Okay. Challenge accepted. I'll write it down.
All right. By all means.
If you want we can make it into a pop-up book if you want. That would be really cool.
Oh my God. I know someone that did a pop-up book. You may have an advantage as an engineer, but I know somebody that put together a pop-up book, and he told me how much he spent on having to hire an actual engineer to make all that crap work.
Yeah. There's some fascinating books out there. God, Amazing.
Yeah. And Cindy Kemp, our Grand Inquisitor, has arrived. Thank goodness for that. And is it safe, relatively speaking? Well, as safe as this show ever
Yeah.
gets.
Right.
Only the people on it are in trouble. And
Right.
whew, she escaped. It's the duty of every prisoner to escape. Remember that. Now, here we go. Sarah wants to know, Ted, have any mistakes in any of your pieces of art turned into something that you unexpectedly loved?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had some occurrences that I've added more water to a watercolor that actually made it spot funny. And it actually on my if you go to any of my website, you'll see my self portrait, and it's a skull, so it's a kind of a tongue in cheek, but the way that it pits on that skull, I just adore it. And I made it into a tile. I've made it into all kinds of stuff. My calling card has it on there, and yeah, you you have to experiment a little bit, and it's hard because you get so pissed because as an architect, as a designer, it has to be right on. There's tolerances. You got to, the molding's going to go here. The window's going to go here. Your cabinet door is going to go here, and it's going to be in line with this door, and it's going to be beautiful. And they're going to have their morning coffee, and it's facing south, and all this other crap. It's great. That could be a real problem if the molding doesn't fit properly, or they're they're shorter and the height of the cabinet's too high. That could be a real problem. But when it comes to drawing in that with watercolor, or creating with watercolor, the imperfections are the beauty. Japanese call it wabi sabi, and wabi sabi is the perfection and imperfection. And I design a lot like that in architecture. Some people say it's a cop out. I disagree. I think that there's so many imperfections. It's beautiful. Christine's, you've been hearing me talk about the greenhouse that we've been doing for Christine. Carl and I've been talking about it on the cigar show, and then the imperfection on the siding, all different kinds of wood. It's all burnt and it's beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And it's coming together now. But those imperfections, that's like human beings. Maybe that's why I do the interviews I do, because we aren't imperfect, but we're perfect. We're very wabi sabi, aren't we? So, yeah, I think I think that a lot of my art's like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Jake Lindsay wants to know what your favorite Christmas movie is.
Good one. I would probably say It's a Wonderful Life, just because I grew up with that. There's something about, Stuart is just such a commonplace in our house, and that was just something growing up as a kid. Yeah, so that would be my go-to.
And mine's The Long Kiss Goodnight, because I'm even.
I'll
Anyway,
tell you one movie I did like was Meeting Joe Black, and it's not really a Christmas movie. But we own Meeting Joe Black, and it's a very who stars in it?
De Niro?
No. This is a long time ago. This is back in like 30s.
Okay, right. The original.
Not Jackie Gleason.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna look.
In any case, Meet Joe Black is about a gentleman that he's homeless, and he has an opportunity to set in the Depression. He has a bum shoulder. He's a pitcher, and an idea came up at the newspaper to sell more copies if they find this John Doe. And this John Doe idea was basically he's going to kill himself on Christmas Eve if people, I forget why, but if people don't do such and such and such. Yeah. Well, and it's basically a story about this guy and how the newspaper cons everybody into buying more papers to believe this. But it's a really good story. Gary Cooper, that's it. It's Gary Cooper. Right. Gary Cooper's awesome though. But yeah, that's a really good story. And it's set in the era that I really like, black and white film, and it's just right there. It's kind of noirish a little bit. Yeah. Very well done. And the comedian, the comic, and that's in it starts talking about helots and what a helot is. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but I would definitely recommend you guys meet Joe Black. It's a really good, or excuse me, what am I talking about? Meet John Doe. Is that the one? Yeah, Meet John Doe.
Yeah, Meet
Sorry.
John Doe. Yeah,
I'm
because I
sorry.
looked at Meet Joe. I keep finding Death Takes a Holiday.
Yeah,
It's
that was the other one with Brad Pitt. I'm thinking,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
Meet John Doe. Sorry.
no problem. We'll just take
That's
that
what
off
happens when you
screen.
get older. So,
I wouldn't know. Anyway, y'all get off my lawn. Anyway, Cindy Camp would like to know, how do you find so many fun people to talk to?
huh. Um, you know what? A lot of it is I'm just really interested in the human condition. They're fun because they allow themselves to be interviewed in a way that they hopefully feel comfortable. That's one compliment I've gotten. A lot of people feel comfortable around me when we talk. And that's, I'm glad they feel that way. But you know what? It's not me, it's them. It's really, they're interesting because they're interesting. I'm just a channel.
Except on when I'm on his show, in which case it is Ted.
No.
So anyway, and let's see, we've got that. How many fun people? And then Cindy asks, "Do you have a favorite art style?"
I really like pulp. I like that pulp, grungy noir. I just love that. Black and white, dirty, if you want to call it that. Just it makes it look like it's just been drugged through the mud. Just love that. Grungy.
Uh,
Just love it.
oh yeah, yeah, and all those charcoal board
Yeah,
illustrations on the
right.
interiors.
Exactly.
I just recently picked up some reprints of the old Grant Stockbridge
Sure.
spiders.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Digging it.
yeah.
Totally digging it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
so
love that.
I do too. I do too. And Cindy says, "Are there specific characteristics that you think typify your art?"
Hmm. I mean, it's got to be bold. I mean, one of the things about my artwork, it's not, I say that I'm about as subtle as a tack hammer to the forehead, and I think that is my art is a lot like that. Either you really like it or you don't. So,
Mhm.
oh,
Very
Da
cool.
Vinci's free. Good,
Yeah,
good.
Da
That's good.
Vinci is free, but a big
Excellent. Big
learning curve.
learning curve it is, but excellent. Good.
Yeah, well, and Carl, he knows OBS, so he knows all about big
Right.
learning curves,
Right.
which is why Ted and I are on
Yeah,
StreamYard.
you can have it. Yeah, he's on a whole nother pay level. Yeah, pay grade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can do OBS, but it's only because of Carl.
Yeah.
So now, Cindy would like to know: do you do digital art or analog, or do you start with one and then switch?
So I've done a lot of CAD work. What I'll do is I'll scan everything in after I do my traditional work, and then I'll have I work with Manga Studio on I have one laptop that I work with that,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll add my text and all my badging and all that stuff, and then maybe I'll lighten it or darken it. I was talking about that today live too. I'll end up vignetting it or changing it, putting explosions, anything like that I think might add to the word bubbles or what have you, but. It's pretty much, there's always some alternating thing to the digital, and then I save everything digital and I send it out to the printer that way, and then PDF files. And so,
Well, Grant Lankard says, I've been using Filmora for editing the videos I'm putting in my newsletter, which,
good.
by the way, contact Grant Lankard and sign up for his
Sure.
newsletter, because I understand he's got a multi-part interview with somebody we know and tolerate who wears a fez. So
Good. Very
sign
good.
up anyway.
God, I didn't realize it was so late. I'm sorry, guys. Keep you guys talking. I've been blabbing I can't believe it. It's almost 10 o'clock.
I know. See, we're having so
God.
much damn fun.
Sorry, guys. Keep you awake.
Yeah, really. Yeah, well, that's our job here.
Yeah.
Bill Sarton says, Vincent Van Gogh said that art is to console those who are broken by life. Do you believe that is still true today, especially right now, Ted?
Yeah, I do. If anybody's ever seen Vincent Van Gogh's work, like in person,
Yeah.
it's there's a certain energy that comes off of that. I mean, one of the things when I learned when I was in art school, we had a professor that taught us, and maybe that's why I got into this interviewing process, because he told us about the human side of these people. The condition that they were in, the psychosis, a lot of the things. You see some of Van Gogh's materials that he used to use. You see some of these paintbrushes, and you can see him nibbling. They've been chewed on, and they think that he was poisoned by the mercury that was in some of these paints that he was using, the mixtures, and that's why he had such vivid color variations in his work. I think that we're all. I think that I think that to see the if you want to call them the masters that have really struggled with life and seeing the passion that came out of their work, I think it absolutely. If it doesn't, then something's wrong with you. I think that you can see it in everybody, though, in everything. You could see that in a rainstorm or a lake with its waves. You'd see it in a sunrise, a sunset. There's palettes everywhere. Just whether you want to see the art that's in it. So whether they've got a major name with multi-million dollars attached to the tag or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we mentioned Van Gogh. You talk about people who the artist themselves is broken by life.
This tortured soul.
Yeah.
And we're all broken in life somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
We all are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah. And well, I like to tell people that I do what I do. What is it? Art should comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable.
Yes.
I like that.
I do too.
So much. And Rick Bradley says, I have an iPhone. Thank you.
You're ready to roll then. Get some iMovie and InShot. You're ready to roll.
There you go. There you go. Now, Grant Lankard says, everybody must be riveted. It's so quiet in here. Carl Witzman says, yes, Grant, good info coming out here. And Sarah's listening for sure. And Grant Lankard can multitask in that he can listen and chat at the same time. I can't.
No, I can't.
Yeah, not me, not anymore. And Sarah says she loves the smell of coffee.
Me too. You should tune in on Thursday. You're going to smell coffee and cigars. So tune that in.
Yeah, one of the places Cookie and I used to like to visit was the Depot in downtown St. Louis, because I don't know if it's still there because we haven't been there in 20 years. But there was a coffee shop there that they roasted their beans first thing in the morning, and you've probably smelled that.
Oh yeah,
Would you wear a cologne if somebody would make?
I already smell like that. Yeah, I already do. I mean, on Thursday when you meet Pete, the owner that sponsors my channel, the owner from the Artisan Coffee Roaster, I mean, this house smells so good. My house smells so fragrant with coffee. It's not even funny.
No joke.
Yeah,
no joke. And Trevor says that coffee.
It is
life.
It is absolutely, Mr. Hawkins. Absolutely.
It is truly that. And Ted, have you done a show of you drawing? Asks Sarah. I could watch someone do their artwork for hours.
Yeah, I have. I did today for a little bit. Just check out any of the YouTube on the YouTube channel. I've got actually quite a few things that I've drawn, and you'll be seeing more. I'm going to start doing the book Retrieve 3. I'm going to be posting things live during the week of how I set up my panels and how we go through the story. And so
that's very useful.
Thank you.
And Sarah wants to take the overwhelm off of you, and she's been stressed. She's not been feeling well lately.
I hope
glad you're on that you're on the mend, and just shot past a whole bunch of comments here. And Sarah, I need to get my head out of the fog and pay closer attention. I love people start with a blank page, and we have a new viewer here, Eliana Bloom, and Sarah says hello, and hello from her. And my wife is the only woman I let help me relieve stress, says Grant Lankard. Wait for the after hours show, and we'll have more on that. Let's see here. And it was just and you've got another fan here. He does have a nice reading voice.
Thank you.
There we go. And we're just playing along. Yes, he does. And Rick Bradley has a lot of musical friends, so I'll be hitting them up. Very good. And here we go. Trevor Hawkins. Now, Trevor is, having worked with Trevor on my book covers, he is big into color theory. How did your sense of color originate, and do you have influences on your color?
Yeah, I do. One of the big ones was El Greco. I don't know if you've spent time with El Greco's work. My dad, I was just looking at a book that I was going through a few things in the library, and El Greco's got such a unique dark Gothic, but he's got these bold purples and reds that come out, and they're striking. He has these elongated figures. They almost look like they're starving people, but it's such a bold statement. And I never quite gotten the point where I could mimic that in any of my work, but I strive for it. But yeah, I do. I've got that sense of palette. I know that Van Gogh is a big one. Monet was another one. But recently, Mike Mignola, he does a series of watercolor works that I really, really appreciate the control that he's got with the water itself. And that's been kind of I know it's going from yin to yang, but yeah.
Oh, no,
Yep.
nothing wrong with that. And and it raises a good point that it's the water itself.
It
Correct me
is.
if I'm wrong, but the water itself can be as much
It
tool
is.
as the brush.
Yeah. And it's, that's the only control. And I was talking earlier today on the live feed. It's funny because I like controlling my life, and I'm in the most uncontrollable medium possible that you could have.
Yeah,
It's like once it's down, that's it.
yeah.
So, that's God having a good sense of humor. So
There you go. And Trevor Hawkins knows the score here. He just followed Ted on
thank you.
Instagram at Ted Davies Artistry. Also
Thank you.
follow him on YouTube. Also like his page on Facebook. Same name. Same
Yes.
name. You're probably like me. If it wasn't the same name, you'd never remember it.
Yeah. Well, branding's important. You got to make it easy for everybody. Make it easy for everybody.
Exactly. And Carl Wisman says, "Well, now I want a tiki bathrobe." Damn it, Ted.
You got it, man. No problem.
There you
Just
go.
let me know which one you want.
We'll send you to the store. And Bill Siren says, FYI, Ted, I was having serious cramps in my hands, only allowing me to draw for a couple hours at a
Mhm.
time. The copper fit gloves
Mm,
are very supportive, yet doesn't restrict my drawing capacity. Now,
you're good.
do
Yep.
you use anything like that to?
You know what I'll tell you what I did. I stopped with certain foods. I'll tell you what, it helps because the inflammation, if it's arthritis, whatever, but inflammation's the biggest part of it. So if I end up, say if I'm working out in the greenhouse or whatever, I'm hammering up something or whatever, then I come in, I can't really draw because I've been working, my hands like that. But we got rid of pork in our diet, I got rid of a lot of dairy, wheat is gone out of my diet. That's been out of my diet for 2 years now, 3 years.
Nice.
So a lot of it, very minimal amount of corn, if that, there's very things that cause inflammation. If you do that, that lessens a lot of the joint pain, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I don't use any real gloves or anything like that. I've got, I just take a break, it's like whatever. But I've noticed, if I have it sounds funny, but if I have like corn chips or like potato chips or something one day, next morning I pick up my coffee cup, my hands hurt. I'm like,
Really?
yeah, it's really weird.
Wow.
So, and it's, that was something that, when I started not feeling good a few years ago, we did this, basically we nuked everything out of my diet to find out what was wrong. Because we figured I was having a reaction to something. Wheat was the big one. Wheat was a huge factor, huge. Wow. So, and that helped me out a lot. But yeah, I'll check that out. The gold, you said gold gloves, was it?
Copper fit.
Copper. Okay,
Copper
I'll check
fit.
those out.
I've seen them in sports stores. In fact,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
wearing them for a while herself because she has arthritis running
yeah,
through her family.
yeah.
So,
Huh. All right, it's good to know.
Yeah. Sarah goes, I want a Tiki Ted bathroom now as
Cool.
well, Carl. Now we have another hashtag of hashtag Tiki Ted.
I've been called worse. Green Room Tiki Ted. Yeah, I've been called a lot worse.
Ted, there we go. That's getting to be quite supercalifragilisticexpialidocious there.
Right.
And she would love to sit and read the books on Ted's bookcase. I see some of your collector books behind you over your
I've
left
been
shoulder.
really fortunate over the years getting quite a few. Yeah, I've been. One of the things about being into antiquated books, once you're in it, you're in it. I mean, I'm just like completely absorbed by it, and it makes me appreciate the construction of how they had to make every plate to print every page of these books.
Yeah.
It took them years to do it. It's amazing. And so, yeah, Faulkner's a big one. I've got a ton of different books though, that I just, I don't think they'll ever leave my shelf, but of course we've got we named this cottage. My dad was a Welshman. So Bwydden Moor, it means cottage by the sea. And it's, that's the name of where we live. And anybody who stays here has open access to my library. But so in any case,
And a pop-up book would be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be fun.
Yeah, and Carl Wisman says, Sarah, I can't wait to show you our library someday
Yeah.
when the plague clears.
He's got a
And
nice library. He's got
he
a really nice
does.
freaking
He
library.
really
Yeah.
does. I've
Yeah.
been in his house, so uh,
Sick.
yeah. And Bill Sargent, Frank Capra's Meet John Doe.
Yeah,
Thank
that's it.
you.
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah, another Frank Capra classic that I like, that I highly recommend. Stars James Stewart is The Shop Around the Corner.
Huh.
I haven't seen that in
I haven't seen
ages.
that one. I really like the Ghost and Mrs. Muir. That's one of my
Yes.
favorite movies. I'll always love that movie.
There was a terrific TV show. It only lasted like 2 or 3 seasons in the
Yeah.
mid 60s with Hope Lang, Edward Mulhare, who
Yeah.
went on to
I
be in
remember him.
Knight Rider,
Mhm.
and I think it was the first network TV regular appearance by Charles Nelson Riley.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. That was quite a cute show. It really
It's
was.
an interesting cast.
Yeah, really
Hmm.
worked. Mulhare, of course, was incredible.
Yeah,
He was
sure.
perfect. Obviously, he played the ghost. You know, he was fantastic. And Carl's, it's because Ted's voice is pretty mellow and relaxing. Not even joking.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, whereas mind balances that out. Anyway, Nick Tucker says there is a lot of info and interesting perspectives being aired here tonight. Plus, the clever title pending crowd is more restrained out of respect for the guests.
Yeah, you guys are great. I'm at home right now, so you guys are, I'm at home when I'm here. So
There you go. There you go. We all are. And Bill Sargent goes, great show tonight, guys. I've been listening while packing up my life, but I got to go for now via Condios Amigos.
Yep.
And Bill
Safe-
Sargent,
safe
good luck
move,
with
Bill.
the move, man.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon, bro.
Really. And Hasty Legos, Bill says Cindy Kep. And Sarah,
Hasty
of course,
Legos.
loves the idea of Gothic with bold colors.
Yeah, there's a certain thing about, Gothic is romantic and it's evil and it's it's submissive, but it's also dominating. It's a very yin and yang experience when you're looking at it for what it is.
For sure.
You can find, like some people are scared to death of Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, and then some of, and he's nuts sometimes. But then you look at it because I consider him kind of gothic-y.
Yeah.
But then you see some beauty in it too. It's like, wow, there's some real. I'm not saying that there's beauty in dungeons and stuff or pendulums and all that. I'm not saying that. There's some real romantic
walls.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, no, I get the same thing from Lovecraft. I mean,
yeah.
Read it. The guy is he would be canceled in 2 seconds in today's culture, but he introduces some amazing concepts, and his descriptions of things are so vivid.
Yeah, and you read them, and they're not like they're long story. I mean,
no.
I've got a book up above here, and it's all of his works, and and they're intriguing, and they're timeless. He might have written in a certain era, but they're timeless. Yeah.
Yeah. And plus he does so many things. What always impressed me was the weird concepts. Like I think one of his stories talked about a space where there's no corners, but there are still shadows.
Yes. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the yellow wallpaper a bit, the way that it was just a little, the little nuances in it. What was the one? Dogen? Dogen's the one that I always kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
Is that, I'm pronouncing it right? I think it's Dogen.
So. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's always freaked me out.
Yeah. There's a performer. Well, it was a group in the 80s called Ultravox, but they had an earlier incarnation with an artist named John Fox. That was their lead singer and songwriter, who went on to quite a long solo career. And he did book design too under his real name.
Did he?
Oh. Yes. And he always talked about disassociation from oneself.
Mm-hmm.
And lines like the room dives like a submarine. Yeah, just all these weird things that's always stuck with me. So so I get that. Totally get that. Cindy Cap says food allergies and intolerances are not fun, but getting rid of the junk and rotating the diet to keep those evil things at bay helps a lot.
Sure it does. I mean, you still have to have, I think that it's important to have certain poisons. I mean, I do. I enjoy a good cigar. I enjoy good scotch or brandy or whatever, coffee. There's certain things. I enjoy cheese. I really like really good cheddar cheese, probably shouldn't have it, but I enjoy it. So yeah, you got to have, everything in moderation, right? But
right? Especially moderation.
yes,
But
that's the key. That's the key, right? Easier
yeah, my
said than
doctor.
done.
Yeah,
Yes.
my doctor's now clutching his chest when I say that. But anyway,
Carl, you're too kind, bro. You're too kind.
you are, man. Thank you, Carl. And you helped make it that way, and so did you, Sarah. So did everyone
Thank
tonight.
you, guys.
Yeah, seriously, and thank you. And Sarah says, I found a graphic novel of Poe's work on Amazon, looked at the inside, and the artwork with his
Mm,
writing is amazing.
mhm. It's haunting. It's really haunting. Some of the stuff that that we've been given.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I even to this day, I read it when I was a kid. I started out with the classics illustrated version of Poe,
Yeah, sure.
and I think it had like two or three stories, and one was, of course, the Gold Bug.
Hmm.
And I can't remember what else was in there, but what maybe the Purloined Letter. But one of the stories was a cask of Amontillado,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and that is to this day one of the creepiest stories
Hmm.
I have ever read in my life because um, it is such slow torture.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right. It's absolutely right. Right.
the guy's realizing what's going on, and
Yeah.
he's like,
Right.
"For the love of
Just
God, Montreal!" It's like
crazy.
7-year-old me, my heart is still doing Immelmans, but so it looks like we have caught up with all of the questions.
Excellent.
So excellent.
Well, you're running the show, man. So you tell me. I want to make sure I thank everybody for the year that's been handed to me. Um, don't you tell me when you're ready to go. I don't want to feel like I've consumed your evening.
Oh, no! My evening is the minute we hit broadcasts on Tuesday nights. I figure the rest of the night is, it's not
Okay.
mine anymore. But no, thank you to everyone who has asked such incredible
Yeah. Great.
questions and
Great
make
question.
me feel at home because he knows he's with the Clever Morians. It's the Clever
Hmm.
Morians at the nighttime program.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Saying that, but in short, like we started out the show.
Hmm.
Uh, you, were coming into the comic book field. You had a couple of properties, one of which has now been optioned for a film.
Hmm.
You have moved into doing work for other publishers. You are now not just a successful broadcaster, but a prolific one as well.
You're too kind.
And well, you do it all with quality, man. That is so cool. Something that inspires me as well. Seriously, it's kind of a symbiotic thing we've got here.
Thank
But
you.
in a year where so many people were like, "Well, screw this, I'm defeated,"
Mhm.
and you and a number of us, of course, have pressed on. And I'm looking at where you're at right now, and I think you'd agree with me that you were here before, you're here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say is the one thing to do? And I get this question a lot from people offline. How do we in the artistic community, whether it's visual arts, writing, music, what have you,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to somebody who's saying, I don't feel the mojo anymore and life is getting to me? What should I do? What would you tell them?
Start looking at other people to help. Get out of your own head. I still fight with that. You need to find somebody else's perspective. And I'm not saying you need to go out and feed the poor or whatever. That's great. But I'm saying if you find somebody that needs that a boy or it just has to be recognized for something that they've done, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a drawing that they did, even if it's not that great. I'm not saying blow smoke, but give kudos to where it needs to be, and try to just get out of your own head, absorb somebody and help them. Get them to the point where they're feeling maybe better about themselves. Compassion, empathy it's a world for me that sometimes I get away from. And it's hard, because we're constantly going. As a creator, you're constantly trying to up the game and try to not just to make money. I don't mean that, but to help other people. And I think it's our obligation that if we don't, we have to start looking at, and I can't stress this enough, especially in this era, we have to look at everybody else first. And that's a big thing for not, we're a selfish group of people sometimes. But that's what I would suggest. Get out of your own head. Find out a way that you can help somebody else. That's the first thing.
Very cool.
Secondly, find out why you're feeling the way that you are. Is it diet? Is it the people that you're around? Is it the things that you're watching, the things that you're ingesting? Because if it's those three things, then you need to stop doing them and then get into something like Rising Tide. Get something to where you're. Now, I'm not saying you need to be happy-go-lucky all the time. I'm not saying that, but you need to get it to where it's balanced, to where you're, and start creating something. Paint your bedroom. Do something that's going to be raise your bar a little bit. And I don't mean pour another drink, because we've all done that, but get it to the point where you're one of the things you surround yourself with the best people that you can, because you're going to start being like those people. If you start surrounding yourself with not the best people, you're not going to be the best that you can be. So
Very wise.
Pretty simple.
Very wise indeed, Ted. Thank you. And we've got a few more comments we'll close out with. Nick Tucker says, you guys have helped make this part of my 5-hour-long session of reformatting the Hybrids role-playing game so much better as a soundtrack.
Oh, good deal. I can't wait to see that. It's going to be a real pleasure being on the Hybrids team. That was a real treat at the beginning of this year. So I'm glad that you got into that, Nick, and I'm glad that it's gonna be an awesome thing, I'm sure.
I was part, Luke Stone and I ran the game early on with Nick.
Awesome.
It's beautiful.
Good. I wouldn't doubt it. I know Nick's a champ when it comes to that, so that's good. Awesome.
Yeah, and he says, thanks for coming on, Ted.
My pleasure.
Sarah says, thank you, Ted.
Yep, thanks, Sarah.
And Cindy Cap says, it was fabulous, and it's okay. You were late, darling. You had a good excuse. Y'all done. Thank you, sweetie.
Thanks, Cindy. Yep.
And thank you both, Brian and Ted. You have no idea what you mean to me and to the rest of us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Love you, sweetie.
You mean a lot to us too, Sarah.
Yeah, and seriously. And Rick Bradley says, Ted and Brian, this was great. I'm going to go download a couple apps for my phone.
Good. See it. I can't wait to see it, Rick.
Seriously, same here. We'll promote it with you too. And thank you. Make your evenings rock, Brian and Ted from Clyde Hall. Thank you, brother.
See you later, man. We'll talk to you soon, Clyde.
All right. Yeah. Rick Bradley says, whenever I do start broadcasting, it will probably be on everything from writing to music to video games and on and on.
Good. Make YouTube dance. Good.
That's right.
Make them dance.
Make the algorithms sweat.
Yep. Make them sweat. That's right.
Exactly. Now, Trevor Hawkins has a question. Do you ever do collaborations, as in start a work and have another person finish it? Asking for a friend.
Sometimes. Depends on what it is. A lot of the people don't. Sometimes the watercolor aspect of it doesn't work. I know that I've done some color aspect of it with some people do inks, and then I'll do some of the collaboration with that. But yeah, I'm always, if I don't broaden the spectrum a bit, I'm going to miss out and maybe something that's really, really cool. So you never know. Collaboration. So
that's right. Very cool. And Jeff Hayes, great show. PlasmaFireGraphics.com when the look of your book matters to you.
Good seeing you, Jeff. Thanks for joining us. It's good.
Yeah, seriously, Jeff. Appreciate you, man. And Kelly Austin, I think this will be a great way to close out the show. She goes, Ted, just wanted to thank you for the invaluable information this evening. Looking forward to seeing you again, Brain. That must be you. You're the brain. As usual, pleasure. Thank you, Kelly. And have a great night, gentlemen. Be safe. And this girl has got to get back to work.
Very good, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, Kelly. Thank you so much. So, and Ted, thank you, brother.
It was my pleasure, man. You know that it goes without saying. So that's it's always a pleasure with you, Brian. It's been a great year. Thank you. And it's a good way to close out the whole season, if you want to call it that. It's been a heck of a year. Thank you. You've grown, Christine, from the bottom of our hearts, because I know that you're instrumental in a lot of the connections that we made this year, and that you've strived with you doing the day-to-day thing that you did in the beginning of this mess. You were, I can't say you were inspiration. You got a lot of us through a lot of it. So, and you still are an inspiration. So, and I know I speak for everybody here. Thank you again.
I appreciate that, brother.
It means the world, man.
You bet. And Grant Laker says, thanks for a good show, fellas. Thank you, Grant, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And see you guys tomorrow morning. It is a date, Grant, on Nevermind more at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on wherever you're watching us now. So I think we're going to call it here. Again, Ted,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All
You're the
right.
man. Appreciate it so much. Give my best to Cookie.
And you give Chrissy a hug for me. Now we're going to give you one last chance here on the spotlight. You're going to get the spotlight dance here. Tell everybody how to stay connected to all things Ted Davies artistry.
Very good. Well, first off, please go to my YouTube channel, Ted Davies Artistry, and please subscribe and like and hit that little bell so that every time that we're going live, you can be part of that whole experience, that whole journey. Secondly, podcast. Go to Ted Davies Artistry. Ted Talks and Inspires. Learn a little bit different, aspect of what I do as far as 1 or 2 little tiny 20-minute excerpts. A little bit different than YouTube. And then, of course, if you go to teddaviesartistry.com, all of it's available there as well. And I look forward to, having you guys on Ted's Tribe and just enjoying this journey. Let's make some things happen. Thanks, guys.
Amen.
Thank you, Brian.
Ted. Thank you, brother. And I'm going to put you out of the screen and mute you, and then we'll close out the show and then stick around so I can thank you for being here. Okay?
Very good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Ted. And thank you, everyone who has been watching. And thank you to everyone who watches us on the rerun of this. We hope that your hand is sore from taking all the great notes tonight. Okay. Ted had a lot of good stuff to share. And again, we want to thank Ted Davies Artistry, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, wherever you look for Ted Davies Artistry. You'll see some good stuff there. Okay. And anyway, again, thank you very much. Like we said, tomorrow morning we'll be back at 10 o'clock with Nevermind the Furthermore with creative conversation and coffee. And then looking over my schedule. What else have we got? Oh, 1 week from tonight, we are going to have a very special guest again, or actually we've not had him before. It's his first time, but we're going to have another special guest next week in Jeffrey Hayes of Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. He will be here for next week's Clever Title Pending. And let's see what else have we got going. And we've got Nevermind the Furthermore on Fridays. But anyway, thank you to everyone watching. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your great questions. Thank you to everyone who listens to us on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify, and other podcast platforms. We appreciate your being here. And don't forget to check out our website, risingtide.pub, where you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter. The next issue will be going out January 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern. We have all kinds of secret links, inspirations, quotes, and a special video that is unique only to my my newsletter subscribers. And we try to give you motivation and education and inspiration with every issue. So please sign up today. And you can also sign up, not just at risingtide.pub, but if you have Facebook Messenger, send me your email address and I will sign you up myself. And remember, we do not sell, trade, give away any of that stuff. Your contact information, you'll get no spam because of us. And if you're watching on Facebook, please, if you enjoyed this video and if you like what Ted has been doing for the last couple hours, please like the video if you would, all right, or give it some sort of reaction. And be sure to like the page you watch it on, whether it's Rising Tide Publications or it's Indie Vent, all right, on Facebook. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Lord love you, please sign up for Ted Davies Artistry on YouTube. That man needs some more subscribes there. And also, please give this video a thumbs up if you would. Smash that thumbs up if you would. Make it go, ow. I like that. Do it again. And then please subscribe to the channel. It just takes a couple seconds, costs you nothing, and it really helps us in our findability. It really does. And also be sure to ring that bell, tinkle that bell, so that you get notified of all of our future broadcasts. And let's see what else. I think that's it. So as always, folks, thank you again for being here. Thank you for your great questions. And we look forward to seeing you next week when we have Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics here talking about graphics and covers and trailers and all that good stuff. So anyway, as always, thank you for being here. This has been Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris. That's me. And telling you all, please stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. That's just what you are, Anyway, have a great night. Thanks for watching Clever Title Pending.
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends. Because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.